A Sudan judge sentences a pregnant Christian woman to flogging and hanging. Her crime? Marrying a Christian man and refusing to renounce her own Christianity. The woman was convicted under Sudan's barbaric Sharia law. It forbids women from marrying non-Muslim men. Human rights groups in Western countries, including the U.S., all condemning the sentencing. Former UN Ambassador John Bolton joins us. Good evening, sir. Your thoughts?
Well, this is barbaric. There's no other way to describe it. And the crime that she's principally accused of is apostasy. That is to say, leaving Islam and refusing to come back. In America, we call switching religions freedom of religion. And it just demonstrates the risk when Sharia law is implemented to the fullest extent, because this relates directly to Boko Haram in Nigeria, where they focus their activities against Christian missionary activities, which is a central tenet of most Christian denominations. So this is a mark of the clash of civilizations.
And I have been to Sudan, and I've blogged many times on Greta Wire, and that President Bashir of Sudan is as evil as can be, bombing children. There's a picture with Reverend Franklin Graham in South Sudan, but he's bombing children in the Nuba Mountains. This is the most evil place, and he's the most evil person, and now we see this.
Well, and he sheltered Osama bin Laden, and there's clear evidence that Sudan has been a base for other international terrorists. So whether the regime in Khartoum is itself terrorist, I think it clearly is, or whether it's affiliated directly with some of these other terrorist activities, it is indicative of this wave of radical Islamism that we're seeing all across North Africa and the Middle East. It's one more indication of what a serious problem it is, and why the United States and others need to take a more comprehensive view. These are not isolated incidents. What happens in Sudan, what happens in Libya, what happens in Nigeria, this is part of a larger pattern, and so far we haven't heard the president speak to it.
Anger erupts outside a Sudanese court against the death sentence for a pregnant Sudanese woman. Her crime? The court said she abandoned her Muslim faith. Miriam Yahia Ibrahim, seen here on her wedding photo, was sentenced to death for apostasy because she married a Christian. The court gave her 3 days to repent, but her lawyer says she refused.
She insisted that she's a Christian, and accordingly, the court issued its judgment, which is death sentence according to Article 126 of Criminal Law of 1991, besides 100 lashes, according to Article 146 from the same law.
Those lashes were for adultery, because her marriage to a Christian is void under the law. The 27-year-old told the court she was raised by her Ethiopian mother as a Christian, and has therefore broken no laws. But the court says she's not Christian because her father, who left the family when Ibrahim was a child, is Muslim, and it's against the law for Muslims to marry Christians. Human rights groups have condemned the verdict. They say Sudan's own constitution guarantees the freedom of religion.
Sudan's constitution enshrines this right itself, and Amnesty International believes that Miriam Ibrahim is a prisoner of conscience who's solely been convicted because of her religious belief, and she should be immediately and unconditionally released.
The embassies of the US, the UK, Canada, and the Netherlands have called on the government to respect that right. Her lawyer says he will appeal all the way to the African Court of Human Rights and People.
The court went beyond its mandate. The case should be referred to the family court, as it's its mandate to issue a decision if the marriage is legal or illegal, after which then the final say on whether Miriam is convicted or innocent.
Ibrahim, who's expecting her second child next month, remains in custody with her 20-month-old toddler while her lawyer appeals. She has 2 years to fight for her life. The death sentence cannot be carried out for 2 years after she has given birth.
Michael, perhaps you can tell our audience who hears a set of facts like that and thinks, that can't be real. That truly can't be real. How real is this? What are the chances this death penalty is going to be carried out?
Well, there's every chance it could get carried out. Not initially, though, Ashley, and that is because this poor woman, Miriam Ibrahim, is actually pregnant. She's 8 months pregnant, as you pointed out. She's in prison, though, while she goes through the pregnancy. The court has said that she can have the baby and then breastfeed for 2 years after that, and then the death penalty will be carried out. Now, you make a couple of points here. She was born to a Muslim father. Now, under interpretation of Sharia law in Sudan, that means she is Muslim. Now, it doesn't apply the other way around, by the way, if it was a male. So she is considered a Muslim by the faith. Now, her dad left when she was 6. She was raised a Christian by her Christian mother. What happened then was she grew up, she married a Christian man who, by the way, is a US citizen, which is an interesting angle to this story. The court then decided, as she's an adult, one of the relatives got involved, reported this. They said, you can't marry a Christian man, therefore the marriage is invalid, it's adulterous. You're getting 100 lashes for that crime. And then when the court said, renounce your Christianity, she said, no, I am a Christian. She said, they said, well, because you abandoned Islam, that's apostasy, and so you are subject to the death penalty. What's crazy about this is she never considered herself a Muslim. She always considered herself a Christian. That's how she grew up. She's refusing to renounce the faith. The court says, well, death penalty for you. What's another interesting fact here, as I said, her husband is a US citizen, says he's been asking for US help and has had none so far. It really is an extraordinary case. As I said, she's in prison with her other child at the moment, who's 20 months old, and she will have that child in jail as well and not getting any treatment while she's in there, according to her husband.
She's caring for a 20-month-old toddler in prison where, by the way, she's sick and having a bad pregnancy, and they refused to transfer her to a hospital. Her husband was not allowed into the courtroom, barred from the courtroom. He's in a...
Sudan has just sentenced a woman to death who is 8 months pregnant. You big, strong boys. 26-year-old Miriam Ibrahim's crime is that she married a Christian and has refused to renounce her Christian faith. She will reportedly be hung sometime after she's given birth. Here's John Bolton's on this despicable intolerance from punks.
It is indicative of this wave of radical Islamism that we're seeing all across North Africa and the Middle East. It's one more indication of what a serious problem it is and why the United States and others need to take a more comprehensive view. These are not isolated incidents. What happens in Sudan, what happens in Libya, what happens in Nigeria, this is part of a larger pattern, and so far we haven't heard the president speak to it.
You know, these infidels over there who do this, Eric, I'm going to turn it around on you all. You call us infidels. You guys are out of the Stone Age. But if you have Sharia law and you're governed by Sharia law in a country that runs absolutely counter to human rights conventions they've signed, runs against everything we believe in as a country, why don't we just break diplomatic relations with these people?
I think you could. I think it's a good idea. I'm all for that, by the way, as my newfound libertarianism. I think we can break diplomatic ties. For anyone that would think that Sharia law would supersede international laws, especially, but look, this woman was apostasy and adultery, and they're going to give her penalty was death by hanging and 100 lashes. Hopefully the lashes come after the death by hanging. These people are animals, and for anyone to say that Sharia law now should be instituted, like the Sultan of Brunei is trying to put Sharia law into that country, you're right, Bob. Cut off ties with them. I don't know that you can cut off trade with them, because Saudis, there are some that there's a big portion of Saudi people that would like to see Sharia law, and it'd be tough to cut off, oil trade.
Well, they actually live under Sharia law, the Saudis, and we won't cut off because they're oil, and which is another reason I'm for the pipeline, by the way. Cut them off and cut them off completely. Andrea, is this? It seems that in the last couple of weeks, people have finally begun to recognize what is happening there with the 250 or 75 girls who were kidnapped in Nigeria, and now this situation. This has been going on a long time, and nobody's paid any attention to it.
Hundreds and hundreds of years they have been killing not just men, but women for a lot less than marrying a Christian, too. Remember, she committed the worst crime of all. The Muslim who turns on the Muslim faith. That's far worse than the infidel. But they have killed women and maimed women and beaten women over going out in public without having the accompaniment of a family member. They have killed women for driving in some Muslim countries. You mentioned the Saudis. The Saudis have spent hundreds of millions of dollars funding Wahhabism, which is incredibly anti-West. And yet, even though, Bob, I think when the First Lady holds up the hashtag, she does bring awareness to the issue, but no one explains what it is. No one understands why. They don't get the history of Islam. We don't teach it in the schools. We don't understand that radical Islam has been here for hundreds and hundreds of years. They've been murdering people. This isn't a new thing, and it's not going away anytime soon. So simple signs and hashtags and just bring back our girls isn't enough.
Well, Jedediah, let me just ask Jedediah one question here. This incident, I mean, I would bet you most people did not know that you could be put to death by hanging if you said you were Christian and not Islam. Yeah. You revoked your Islamic faith. Maybe we're learning something from this. I mean, it's a tragic way to learn it, but maybe people realize that we're talking about a bunch of infidel Stone Age people.
I agree with you, though. I think we have to do more than condemn it. I think part of it is educating people and running segments like this and having people at home sit home and watch and understand the severity of what's going on. Look, though, I think ties should be cut. We are a country that stands for freedom. Everything that we stand for stands against this. We stand for freedom of religion. You can marry whoever you want. Individual liberty. That goes in direct contradiction to what's happening here. So I think we have a responsibility to not just say we condemn this, but to put some action behind it. So yeah, you bet, I would say cut ties.
Let me ask you, Kimberly, they have signed, Sudan has signed conventions, international conventions on human rights, which specifically says that this side of things should not happen. Now, it is true in their law, it says that this should happen, but how do you sign an international convention and not be bound to it?
Well, that's the problem. So they're in violation of that, which is why it would be very helpful to bring a lot of attention to this situation. Her husband, to no avail, has begged the State Department, the United States, to get involved, and they have chosen to not do so. What is the message here? I thought they were talking about let's not have a war against women. Well, there is an international war against women to the point where this woman is going to be lashed 100 times and then she's going to be hanged. How is this okay? Why aren't people outraged? And the crimes of which they are accusing her, by the way, does anyone care that she's not guilty of those crimes? This is a legal marriage to a Christian man. She is Christian. They can prove, in fact, that she was never Muslim. It's not like it was a conversion. But they're going to be graceful and wait until her child is 2 years before they execute her.
In fairness to Kerry and the State Department, they have spoken out about this.
Okay, but so
they haven't done anything
would
about
you
it.
suggest cutting off all aid to the Sudan and other countries?
Absolutely.
All the countries. Because I'm going to remind you of this when you tell us that we should be continuing aid to certain countries, and I'm just going to remind you, well, if there's Sharia law in that country, you're willing to cut off.
Let me make it clear. If there's Sharia law dominates that country's legal system, that it is something that we simply cannot abide and we should not participate in.
No way.
Yes, but our president believes that we have a shared history of tolerance with Islam.
Well, if I'd seen some tolerance out of Islam, I haven't seen it anywhere soon. All right, coming up.